Good morning. I am Martin Miller. This is my AMU assignment for my final week. I was going to do this in the gym, but it's the CrossFit Open last weekend, 21.3 and 21.4, so the gym is reserved for a few days for people to compete in the Open to be judged. I judged some of the other days for the Open, CrossFit Level 1 certified, and I have my judge certification as well. We have a gym in my dorm room, which is where I'm at now, but it's pretty crowded in there as well right now, so I decided that I'm going to improvise and just make the video in my room. What we're covering in the final week, we're supposed to pick 2 subjects from a list, and I picked a few things that I want to cover that I think are very important, especially for not just CrossFit, but weightlifting in general, strength training, powerlifting, endurance training as well. And I'm going to start there. First, I wanted to cover knowledge of results. For me, when I'm thinking of knowledge of results, I'd like to consider that it's information about the success of like an action or having a goal, something in mind that you want to achieve, and you have a specific goal that you're working toward, and you adjust your training for the result that you want to achieve. The feedback in this will tell you what you achieve through your actions, your processes, your performance of whatever the skill is you're working on or trying to perfect. That's a very important element of motivation and learning for me as well, I think, and for others. Can help enhance your performance if you have a goal that you're trying to reach. For instance, if you have a 100-yard dash time that you're trying to reach for and you're a runner, you're going to adjust your training to be working towards that goal, if that makes sense. It also could be used as a way to create programming for other things, such as if you want to work for a 1 rep max back squat or a deadlift, having the knowledge of the result you want to achieve is going to help you adjust your programming to make it more effective to be able to work towards that goal or the result. Knowledge of the result, like I said, is a feedback system. It will help you stay motivated, let you know that you're achieving little steps towards your main goal. Will help you get better results, more or less, through the feedback that you're going to receive from yourself. Something that ties to knowledge of results would be knowledge of performance, which refers to feedback that is provided on how the movements are performed in ways that you correct those motions or those movements in order to improve your performance. It's dependent on the result, independent of the result, dependent on the result. So if you want to work on your performance, 100-yard dash, you're going to take each individual session, and that's your knowledge of performance. So you're ignoring the result kind of and focusing on just the feel of a movement. Focus more on the performance itself. This is broken down into intrinsic feedback and extrinsic feedback, whereas the intrinsic feedback is a direct feedback that you get from the action itself, something you would feel. So if you make a mistake on a high jump or maybe a long jump, and then you land, and you can tell, like, when you jumped it didn't feel right, when you landed you didn't feel right, you could feel it because you're used to how it feels to do that movement correctly. You can receive your intrinsic feedback from the action itself, and you can almost tell where you messed up just from that information that you're feeling feedback to yourself. Whereas your extrinsic feedback would be from like a coach or a video. Record yourself working out, which I did a few days ago. I did a video of bar muscle ups, and I did a video of overhead squats, for example. And then I don't have a specific coach here right now, but I have a coach I can send the video to back in the States. And they will tell me how the performance was, the movements, if they were moved correctly, on a bar muscle up, did I bend my arms too early, trying to pull over, or did I let the momentum cover over and almost, I'm not covering this, but kind of freezing the elbows, because there's a saying in Olympic weightlifting, and we use it for bar muscle up practice as well, and it's when the arms bend, the power ends. So if I'm trying to do a bar muscle up and I'm using it like a pull up, when this power is slowly going away as I pull down like this. But if I can keep my arms straight, elbows frozen, as I pull up and kind of use my back and lats and raise my hips towards the bar, you get more power from that. So we're just going to pretend there's a bar here because I don't have one. So if I'm doing a bar muscle up and I pull this way and then try to rotate over, the bar is going to be up higher on my body where I'd like to be closer to my hip. So I'm pulling, I bend my arms, I'm losing all the power now, and I'm trying to struggle to get around the bar, and it's probably going to end up somewhere here with my arms pulled back crazy where you could be injured. Whereas if you work on pulling almost this direction, keeping your arms as straight as possible to get the bar lower towards your hip, you could almost just roll over and your arms would almost be already locked out, which is the top position of the muscle up. Instead of pulling your arms in, rotating over, just barely getting your chest over and then dipping out off the bar. So when the arms bend, the power ends. So we want to freeze the elbows, bonus word, to keep that locked in. And that's where you're going to get your knowledge of the performance from your coach or even from yourself. If you can feel like you pulled your arms in too early instead of waiting to the last possible second. That's the knowledge of performance piece that we're talking about. For moving on now, we're going to have proprioception, which is your body's ability to move in space without actually watching yourself move. Jumping the gun here. So if you close your eyes, you can still touch your nose. You don't need to look at your finger or your nose in a mirror to be able to touch it. Proprioception is your body's ability to sense its own position in space. For example, throwing a ball, you don't look at your arm as you're throwing a ball or shooting a jump shot. You don't have to watch. Okay, let me watch my arm extend, follow through. You can just do it with your eyes closed, and the pattern is going to look identical. That's your proprioception. Or you can do it when you're squatting and knowing you have hit parallel on a squat or slightly below. You should be able to feel that with practice, especially you'll adapt. Your body will learn. So if you want to have, you can take your knowledge of performance, have your coach watch you, and as you learn proprioception, you'll know that this isn't low enough of a squat. You should be able to feel where everything is in your body, legs, hips, knees, to know that you haven't hit parallel or below. And you don't have to look in a mirror. A lot of bodybuilder gyms will have mirrors everywhere, and people get fixated on having to see the mirror in front of them to be able to perform a squat below parallel. But if you work your body enough, you'll soon find that you can feel where parallel and below are. Like I could tell without looking at myself in the camera on that last squat, I did not go below parallel, and I don't see myself. I just know where my body is in the space around me, and then there below parallel. And you can even get really close to where over time you don't need to even think about it. You just feel it and you move through and you continue on. Proprioception. That's also got a lot to do with, I believe, handwriting. The way you write your name, your hand will learn that movement pattern for writing your name, signing your name. And over time, that's why your name, your signature looks identical for a long time unless you try to change it. For my last piece of the video here, we're going to speak about general motor programming, or GMP for short. General motor programming is when you practice or you develop through practice, you're able to develop your general motor programming, which provides the basis for generating movement sequences within a class of movements that share the same invariant features, such as a sequence of order, relative timing, relative force. How do I explain GMP a little better? So when you perform a movement or a pattern of movements over time, your general motor programming gets saved, right, in your memory. It's stored in your memory, and as you perform an action, the different muscles will activate in the order that they need to complete the movement pattern. So for example, back to, let's say, bench press, right? So you're on the bench, you bench down, you bench up. Push up, same movement, down, up, bench press, down, up, dumbbell bench press, down, and then back up. So you're developing that GMP pattern in your muscles, and they know which ones need to fire. Like first you're releasing, lowering, triceps, shoulders, chest, down, reverse order, contract, push out, back up. Same with the squat again, or maybe a deadlift. You know that when you're deadlifting, you don't want to start with maybe, let me move this a little bit. Deadlifting, I'm gonna like this example, I think. So for deadlifting, you see a lot of people set up on the bar, they go to deadlift, and they do their hips first. The bar's still on the ground, it hasn't moved an inch. So they shoot hips, and then they try to come up with their back. So you want to develop that general motor programming, or the GMP, so you don't have to think about the sequence as much. You just grab the bar, and you come up everything all at once to lock out and reverse. And a lot of that is going to be with practice, same as throwing a football. If you throw a football the same way over time for years, that'll be your GMP, general motor programming, for throwing a football. The muscles that you're going to use when you're doing this will have a contraction period, or a force of muscle contraction, which will vary depending on the weight you're lifting, how far you need to move your body or those muscles. If you're using a particular exercise such as a back squat or deadlift like I talked about, you're going to have different ranges of muscle contraction or different forces of muscle contraction. So for an air squat, I know to contract my muscles to push back up, it's not that much force of contraction because my body weight isn't that heavy. But if I load a barbell to 225 pounds or more, and then I squat down, the force of contraction is going to be a lot greater in order to push the weight back up using my legs and stabilizing my core, things like that. And then we can talk about the duration of muscle contraction of your GMP. The duration of the muscle contraction will vary depending on the amount of time it will take you to move that load or the body through a particular movement pattern. Back to the bench press. So you could have what's a eccentric movement, which is the duration of the muscle contraction. You can purposely extend that on your own. So when you bench, you unrack and you lower as slow as possible. That's your eccentric movement. And then the concentric is when you push back up quickly. So you're not taking as much time. So on the eccentric phase, if you slow that down, the time under tension or duration of muscle contraction is going to be extended, which can lead to greater, I don't want to say damage, greater damage to your muscles, to your fibers, or more tears, which could lead to being able, you're going to be more sore, but you're going to be able to tear down your muscle fibers a little more, which you then know you rebuild through your diet and recovery, 8 or more hours of sleep a night. But that's what a lot of bodybuilders will call time under tension. Even strength training athletes, powerlifters, crossfitters, Olympic weightlifters all work with some kind of time under tension in general practice sessions for their exercises. So your GMP is just that saved memory of how to perform the exercise. The force that you require will change depending on what the weight is. The movement pattern will still be the same, but you'll have to know to use a greater force of muscle contraction, but the GMP is there, so you just increase the force of muscle contraction, and then the duration of muscle contraction is dependent on how long it takes you to perform that movement squat up and down, deadlift up, or bench press down and up. So once you figure all that out in your head, you're not really thinking about it anymore. Your body just kind of takes over. GMP takes over. And unless you're purposely slowing down your eccentric motion for extra benefit of that negative taking longer to come down and pushing back up to help develop more strength or size or muscular damage, then your GMP is just going to handle it all for you. And that's about all I have for now. I hope this covers everything. If you'd like to go to another video I have on my YouTube channel, it was last year, and I cover an entire workout. I'll do a little bit of the warm-up, and then I cover a workout. I think it was burpee, box jump overs, and air squats. It's not exactly what I'm talking about here, but I do cover a lot of things that are, I think, important towards this class in general, what we learned over the last 8 weeks. If you want to go look at that, you can. It's kind of long, and I talk a lot throughout the entire workout, which I'm kind of impressed looking back now that I was able to do that, because I don't think I could do it right now. I'm not in that kind of conditioning to be able to talk through burpees and air squats for 20 minutes. So that will wrap it up for now. I hope everyone has a great weekend, and see you next time.